Welcome to week 5 of the Bias Bettors podcast. As always, our goal is to make you more money. For those joining us on YouTube, you can see our overall record on the screen. For our Spotify listeners, the Bias Bettors are 53 and 40, 13 games above 500 against the spread this year in football betting, with a 30 and 23 record in college football and a 16 and 17 record in the NFL. We will always be posting our records, always showing you what we're betting on and how we are doing. We are coming to you live from across the nation for episode 5. As always, we begin with everyone's favorite segment, the Bias Bettors versus Colin Cowherd and his Blazing 5 picks, which can be heard on Fridays of his radio and TV show, The Herd. This week, the Bias Bettors went 3-2 with our NFL picks, where Colin Cowherd only went 1-4. Overall, the Bias Bettors are making you money on our Blazing 5 picks. We're 10-5 overall. And in a surprise to no one, Colin Cowherd is only 6-9, a horrible record. He never talks about it. He never posts it. Anything you'd like to say, Bias Better CJ, about Cowherd?
That guy's got the easiest job in the world. Just spew horrible takes, checking out and posting your record, and then you watch the game and be like, "This is what I saw. Oh, this is what I saw. I'm so smart. I knew they were going to run this defense." Shut up, Colin Cowherd. You're a moron.
He did take a pretty bad beat in the Rams-Eagles game. How the Rams did not cover.
Oh,
We'll
I
get to
feel
that
like
Rams egg, but oh, what a bad beat that was. Before we get into anything, though, we've got to start with who's hot on the week. We've got 3 people that are hot right now: Dudley, CJ, and straight up our college football bets. I want to start with Dudley. Another great week, Dudley. Anyone who's not following Dudley's Big 12 picks, you're definitely missing out on some good money to be made. What were your picks this week, Dudley? And what else? What else are you feeling about the Big 12 as a whole?
Yeah, I picked Texas Tech. I kind of thought it was going to come down to if Texas Tech actually had a good front seven, which I thought they did, and they did. They're head and shoulders above everybody else in the Big 12, so they covered that plus four pretty easily. And then Oklahoma, not a doubt, covered against Auburn. Ignore all the stuff about the officiating and whatnot, but they covered, so we'll take it. And then Kansas demolished West Virginia. That was a pretty easy. That was my biggest lock of the week, and that I was able to shut off at halftime and quit paying attention to. So that was nice.
So Texas Tech +4, you had that game pegged. You're calling people out on social media that were all over Utah and were so wrong. Utah looked like they couldn't even complete a forward pass, which you said on the podcast last week, make Utah throw. Did you sprinkle anything on Texas Tech money line as well?
I just did the spread. I knew that if I put it on the money line, it was. I mean, think about it. I mean, I said Baron Morton's not the best guy ever. He looked awful. Well, Billy Hammond comes in and just lights it up. I was fine with just putting money on the spread and kind of just hanging out with it.
And then for Oklahoma, I know they covered this week. They are undefeated. They had an injury at quarterback. I'm going back to, I think, our preview show and an early season bet you had with Oklahoma, which is now, I think, looking phenomenal. Remind us what you had on that.
Yeah, so their season win line was 6.5. I took the under. Um, Again, I said in the preview episode they were probably going to start out 5-0 because I was not a believer in Auburn. I was not a believer in Michigan. Um, Oklahoma's going to play 7 ranked teams to finish the year, and they're going to do it without Mateer for the most part. And I mean, if you saw watching that last game against Auburn, they did not look great. Mateer was not kind of the level of quarterback that everybody thought that he could have been. I mean they'll rattle off one against somebody in that big stretch, but especially if Mateer's out, it's going to be a rough little bit for them.
Their schedule's brutal.
Yeah.
So before we made the content for this podcast, for those joining us on YouTube, I usually have a who's hot, who's cold slide. I almost made a third slide that was who is an absolute pile. Bias Better CJ had a 3-1 week. If you follow our main page, you saw all of his picks. If you follow him individually, he didn't get a single tweet off all week. What do you have to say for yourself, CJ?
Tough to tweet from a tree stand. Hand up, that's on me. I should have got the tweets out before I was out in the stand. But
Did you
follow the
shoot?
main
Did you
page.
get anything?
I almost shot a coyote with my bow, but didn't get it. So no, I didn't.
And I will say, if you tuned into last week's pod, you did get just a great little bit of insight on this Los Angeles Chargers. What are you feeling for the rest of the year with the 3-0 Chargers, CJ?
It's think about yourselves when you're back in high school football, high school sports. When you feel good, you play good. And sometimes it's as simple as that. Chargers have a good coach, and Justin Herbert is dating a rocket. And he's got to be feeling on top of the world. And sometimes it's as simple as that. I'm riding his right hand. I mean, a guy tore his Achilles right in front of him. Unfazed, throws a first down bullet. Herbert's on top of the world.
And lastly, on the Who's Hot slide, the Bias Better college football picks are on fire. 8-4 the last few weeks. Almost two bad beats away from going 10-2 this week. Missed one of them by half a point, missed another by a point. So those college football picks, we're starting to get into a rhythm. The season's getting a little bit older. So definitely be following us on those college football picks. Moving into who is cold this week. And for our YouTube followers, you may see something that looks a little different on your screen. You may also see in one of our cameras something that looks a little odd. Our first Bias Better who is cold showed up to the podcast wearing cat ears. Care to explain yourself, Bias Better HJ?
Every year I do the same thing. I put too much faith into Dak Prescott, and he usually fails me. And that's what happened.
So for those of us that don't know any of our followers, we are starting to do punishment straight up one Bias Better to another. Last week, Bias Better CJ had the Bears. Bias Better Hannah completely disagreed with him, took Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. The loser was going to have to wear cat ears for the entire podcast, and the loser is showing up to her punishment. So at least she's owning it. This week, you've got kind of a fun one that you want to pitch at Rams AG. Rams AG has not heard the punishment that Hannah would like to pitch at him. Go for it.
Well, we're going to do the game of the week, which is the Hawkeyes versus the Indiana Hoosiers.
And you're repping Indiana tonight.
It's going
Go
to be
Fever.
an absolute beatdown at Kinnick. IU's just going to come fire blazing at them.
Get to the punishment. This
Okay.
is too good.
So I wanted AG to have to pierce his ears, but Paul told me no. And so we decided we're going to order a Mike Tyson tattoo for your face. And you have to wear it to the podcast and to the bank on the next day.
No.
AG, what would the people at your bank say if you showed up with the Mike Tyson?
It's just another Monday at the bank, bud.
I think it's a great idea. Anyone who's following us, tweet at us, comment on the YouTube page, get AG if the Hawkeyes don't prevail on Saturday to wear a Mike Tyson tattoo to next week's podcast and to work next Thursday.
Straight up, I have to take him straight up to the bet. That's horrible.
That can be negotiated. The line can be
I
negotiated.
will do the spread as well, AG, if we really want
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
Take
And
it. She
what,
said.
Hannah has to wear it to Target or what?
Yeah, I wear it in front of my kids. They'll be scared at me all day.
Speaking of who's cold, we got two other members on this slide. We got Bias Better Rams AG and Bias Better PGZ. We'll get to them in a second. I do want to stick on who's cold and talk a little bit more about Hannah. So coming out of that Bears Cowboys game, Bias Better CJ has a little message for you. For any of our YouTube followers, you can see that is straight from the Bears quarterback Caleb Williams and CJ to you, Hannah. What do you think of that?
It's not surprising Connor's cussing, but
Yeah, I was gonna say it fits.
I just wish it was on the middle finger.
if you can cheer for any guy that paints his nails in the NFL, you're just
First off, on that bet, it was never a doubt. And shout out Brooks Montang, who was doubting his team And shout out Nathan
Oh,
Lovers.
yes.
Love those boys. I know the Bears. I'm going to follow the Bears even harder now. Don't bet against them.
Two quick things on that. Brooks Montang did send me a text after that Bears beatdown and said, "Holy cow, the bias betters no ball." You and Winkleman had that pegged beautifully. And the second part of this, obviously, what we're trying to do as the bias betters is get intel on these specific teams, only give you good information and bets on the teams we follow. Here's a great example. CJ follows the Bears. He knew what was going to happen on that game on Sunday. Hannah went outside of her teams and thought all high and mighty that she could bet Cowboys or Bears, even though she hasn't been following them, and she got taken to the cleaners, which takes me to a team that Hannah does follow. For any of our YouTube followers,
Okay.
Oh.
Dudley had this one pegged, and CJ and Hannah cannot believe it, but it appears Christian Ponder 2.0 has showed up in Minneapolis. I think Hannah's conspiracy theory was correct. I mean, JJ McCarthy has a leg injury, but yet he's flying across the country to be in Europe a couple weeks with the Vikings. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Wentz is the GOAT. He's absolutely slinging it out
Nah.
there, and we have Christian Ponder 2.0.
If Wentz is quarterback, we're screwed.
We got to get on the trade block, the Vikings.
Yep.
Gotta.
Mr. Unlimited's available now.
You're right. He is. He absolutely is.
So Dudley, remind us, McCarthy is Ponder, but what is he missing that Ponder has at least?
He's got a less hot wife. That'd be the big difference between Ponder and McCarthy. Ponder's
Not
dad
terrible
also
about the Vikings, but
did not grope his wife
have
during
to
the
change
national
JJ as their
championship game.
quarterback. Have to, because our defensive coordinator is gone next year. This is our shot is this year. You got to go.
Also, back on the Herbert pick, Christian Ponder, you're like, oh, he had a hot wife, but he sucked. He had a hot wife. Wives are nagging in your ears. Justin Herbert's got a hot girlfriend. They're riding high right now. So just remember that.
HJ, we appreciate you fulfilling the punishment, and you look much better in cat ears than Ponder's wife or Madison Beer. Can we all agree with that?
Okay. Sure.
Paul wanted me to keep these on tonight. I don't know why.
Okay, moving on.
All right.
So the other two people that were on the cold slide, Ramzag and PGZ. Ramzag, you got on the cold slide for one pick and one pick only. Friday night, you had the Rutgers Iowa under. That thing was dead in the first quarter. It had some of our following thinking. When you made that pick, were you in a similar state of mind as Brett Favre in the picture on your screen for our YouTube followers? What was that pick, AG, and are you suffering from CTE?
I very well could be suffering from something around CTE, but one bad pick a week, and I guess I just get thrown on the colds 2 weeks in a row. I've been hovering right around 500, but we'll do better this week.
Well, I've got to own it. I had a horrible week. I went 1-3. Just Nebraska, never bet on Nebraska in a big game. I did it. It hurt me and Will Compton.
Just a
It has me
horrible.
feeling that, I was in this mental state of mind when I made these picks. Again, just Brett Favre talking about the dangers of concussion. I was definitely concussed when I submitted those picks last week, but I won't be this week. We're moving on. Now to everybody's favorite segment of the pod. Again, this does not get posted on social media. This is for our podcast listeners only. This dog is barking segment. For our YouTube following, you can see our standings. Double G took a double-digit home dog out of the MAC, Western Michigan, and won, so he's on top with 3 points. I get to give a shout out to my dog of the week. I'm wearing their jerseys. The Carolina Panthers absolutely showed up and showed out. 6.5-point dog at home to the Falcons and won the game 30-0. AG's team covered last week, the Jets. Dudley's team covered last week, South Carolina, barely. And HJ and CJ could not get their teams to cover. So, just quickly, dogs of the week this week. PG has Mississippi State at home against Tennessee. HJ has Syracuse at home against Duke. CJ has Illinois at home against Southern Cal. Double G has Iowa at home against Indiana. Dudley has Colorado at home against the Mormons of BYU. And
All home
lastly,
dogs.
maybe the most bold of everything, you'll definitely get 3 points if they pull this off at Bethpage AG. AG has Europe to win the Ryder Cup this weekend. Which takes us into the matchup of the week. It's highly touted, it's highly anticipated, and it's on Peacock and Peacock only. The matchup of the week is the Indiana Hoosiers, a top 10 football program right now, top 11 football program right now, traveling to the Iowa Hawkeyes. I want to start with Ramzag. Ramzag, what are you betting for this game, and how do you feel about the matchup of the week?
If I was to bet right now, I'd probably bet on Indiana 7.5. The only thing that's kind of stopping me is I feel like it should be Indiana at closer to 10 to 12. And I don't know if the line is just going to get up that high at some point. But if it stays down around 7, I think Vegas maybe knows something about Kinnick Stadium that maybe
Is
we're
it
not
a
thinking about on Saturday.
is it a night game?
No, 2:30 on the cock.
Okay.
2:30 on the clock.
Little afternoon delight.
All right, so AG's leaning Hoosiers. Bias better HJ. I believe you already have wagered on this game. Where are you
This
at?
is my whale of the week.
Oh,
-7.5 and the over of 48.5. Indiana scored by the third quarter, what was it, 66 points last week against Illinois? There's no way that the Iowa Hawkeyes are even going to be able to remotely match touchdowns to them.
I got a question for Ramzag.
They're averaging 48 points a game, the Hoosiers.
The Iowa Hawkeyes defense is historically just, you can hammer unders of 39. Are they as good this year or are they worse? What do we think about the defense?
It's been kind of a slow decline on the defensive side of the ball for the last couple of years. And they do not have an all-pro punter anymore, which that could flip the field. Their punter now is not near as good. So that really hurts them when the team's getting the ball at the 50-yard line instead of the 3-yard line.
Ever
True.
since the racist comments about Kurt Ferentz's strength trainer, they've just gone downhill.
Okay, that's a little
They
uncalled
still won
for.
10 games multiple times after the guy left.
If you're looking to go at
For
Iowa
what?
fans, you got to jump in on Twitter with Dudley because he is absolutely going at some Iowa Hawkeye fans right now on Twitter. So he's a great follow. Make sure you're following him as he responds to people. I'm a Hawkeye fan myself, but Dudley, you've been a joy on Twitter so far. What do you think about this game, Dudley?
I I agree. I get totally with what AG is saying. The issue is, I mean, Iowa's last ranked win is against Penn State in 2021. They played, who is it? Who's the Buffalo quarterback, BB Gun, that Minnesota almost lost to?
You're talking this year?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know his name.
Like Taquan Roberson.
Penn State
Awful. That's the
transfer.
only reason they won that game. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't have any type of corner that is anything relevant to what like Riley Moss was back then. It's a completely different Iowa program. In my opinion, Saturday's probably going to be the wake-up call for a lot of Iowa fans on, whoa, Indiana completely passed us by, and we have to start all over again. In my opinion, and I could be wrong, but I'm like 99% sure that the talk coming out of this weekend is going to be we need to move on and find somebody else because we got nothing left.
No, that'll be the day.
Iowa will never do that. You
I
have
will say
clubs who still think that Kurt Ferentz is God on earth.
I will say this though, Iowa's games, the play calling's been a little better. They're utilizing Gronowski a little better, but yeah,
Also,
Indiana's just too
so
good.
the big thing too, so Hannah talked about Indiana's offense. Illinois, would you guys say double G, AG, Paul, pretty similar build of an offense to what Iowa has right now ish? Like they're going to ground it out. pound it out type of team-ish. Maybe a little bit more explosive than Iowa is.
The
They had
more
2 yards rushing against Indiana. Like I don't,
Double
it's not
G,
like a team that I can see Iowa just pounding the ball against over and over again.
I want to get Double G's opinion because the more I think about this game, it's what Evan said. Iowa has not shown up against a ranked team in how long? And it being a wake-up call, most realistic Iowa fans have been extremely upset about how bad we've played against ranked teams lately, and those have all been wake-up calls. Nothing has really changed. So I'm leaning toward Indiana as well. What do you think, Double G?
Yeah, I purely Arizona investment bet. Hannah had the Indiana Hoosiers, so just anytime a Arizona Gallagher goes with the team, you fade it. Just watch the money come in. So I'm gonna say it's probably gonna be a 24-21 ball game. Not sure who wins, but something like
Indiana
that.
will score more than 24 points, and I'd bet anything on that.
I will say HJ has a lot of Indiana followers on her Bias Better Twitter account. They are getting extremely overconfident. They are talking some really, really
It's
big
it's
stuff.
a bad time to
For
get
that quarterback.
overconfident.
Yeah.
They
I was,
love
let's say
saying
I was there in the building one time when a very confident Ohio State team came in, and Urban Meyer's still talking about that game to this day. He's retired now.
so.
That
Speaking of
was
college football,
10 years ago.
someone we
Well, it still
respect,
happened.
someone we respect a little bit more than Colin Cowherd, Joel Klatt, who does no ball. He calls Big Noon Kickoff every week. He's also getting worked by the bias betters in his weekly picks. He submits usually 4 to 5 picks a week. We submit 4 to 5 picks a week right along with him. We went 3-1 last week. He went 3-1 last week. We're 12-7 overall as the bias betters. Joel Klatt is only 8-11, which takes us into someone who's carrying us as far as college picks. Dudley, I know you've got a lot of plays this week. You feel pretty good about the favorites. Give me your 1 or 2 favorite picks this week and why.
Yeah, we'll go through it super quick. K-State, you guys know my thoughts on K-State. We're gonna stick it one more week, see what happens. I don't think UCF's very good at all. So that goes into Kansas and Cincinnati. That is the most confusing line I've ever seen, and I normally would like to go the other way on a line like that. I just I don't know if Vegas is slow on figuring out how good Kansas is. I think Kansas should be able to win that game by a couple touchdowns at home. That's the one that I'd be the least confident in just because I feel so good about that one. Utah -10 on the road at West Virginia. Morgantown's an interesting place to play. You got to go into Pittsburgh and then you stay the night in Pittsburgh and drive into Morgantown, and it's like you're driving into Deliverance. Um, West Virginia can't stop the run very well. Kansas ran all over them. What's the only thing Utah can do?
Run the ball.
Run the ball. So that's just kind of a fundamental pick that I'm going with there. Iowa State and Arizona. So I did not have this on until about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So Arizona runs a super unique defense where the defensive line, if you go back and would watch that K-State game, it's just a bunch of stunts, a bunch of slants and everything like that, which works really well on turf. This is a fundamental. Jack Trice Stadium has awful grass play. I don't know how they're going to be able to do the amount of stunts that they do on turf. Their tackling technique, so it's a rocky long defense. So what they do is they basically don't care about breaking down for tackles at all. They just go full out on that first hit. And then if they miss the tackle, it's on everybody else to make the tackle. I just don't know how that works on a night game at Jack Trice when they're going to be slipping and sliding everywhere, playing in rough that's going to make Bethpage look like the tightest green you've ever seen. So, and then I have the money line parlay of K-State, KU, and Utah, just because I really think they all will win outright. Hopefully, Kansas doesn't mess it up.
I came prepared to the pod tonight because Arizona's my team that I'm following. I came prepared to the pod tonight with what I thought was good information on that game. The only information I had was Iowa State is not wearing red or gold. They're wearing white and black. So I was tending to lean toward Arizona, but Dudley talking about the grass on the field and the tackling techniques that they're being taught in practice. I'm all in on the Cyclones -6.5 at Jack Trice on Saturday night. I love it, Dudley.
Knows what he's doing. Good job, Dud.
Moving on
We'll
to
wait and
bias
see.
better CJ. You've got a big slate of games here, CJ. Give us your one or two that you like the best and why.
The best I really like, and this is my dog of the week, kind of mimics the Bears last week. Illinois, after just getting throttled last week by Indiana. I don't think they're a bad team. They beat a good Duke team earlier. Like you said earlier, they kind of have an Iowa-ish offense, and USC's not played anybody yet. USC's got some firepower. But I rode Luke Altmaier last year hard in games like this, and he always prevailed. So I'm gonna even sprinkle a little bit on Illinois money line at home. I think that'll be a close game. That's one of my favorites. And then other favorite too is Rutgers plus 4.5. The return of Ethan Kaliak-Manis back to the U of M. U of M might be fraudulent after Cal beat him, and then Cal just got throttled by a San Diego State team that nobody knew of really. Um, Minnesota too. Every game's close, so I like the Rutgers. I like Rutgers in it. They throw the ball a lot. I didn't think they looked bad against Iowa, so I'm going to take Rutgers plus 4.5. Those are my two kind of favorite picks of the week.
If Rutgers had inched up to +5, I was definitely going to have them as my dog of the week. I like the analysis, CJ. I'm right on par with what you said there. Moving over to Bias Better Rams AG. The guy knows how to pick games. He's been all over Washington and BC this year. And the guy knows how to pick fights with Eagles fans on Twitter. Holy cow, are people going at you on Twitter, AG? What do you like this week and why?
So in college, I don't know, my internet might not be the greatest, but I'll just go right through this. So in college, Ohio State at Washington. Joel Klatt is now talking about Washington. I talked about them way earlier than he did. I was on Dedman, Williams, Coleman, the running back. I like that game to go over, but I think the quarterback is just, I don't know if he's got enough stamina to last the whole game and keep up with Ohio State. Look for them to pull away in the fourth quarter. And then my other good bet of the week is the Colts Rams under. For the Rams to win this game, it's got to stay under 50 points. I look for a bounce back out of the Rams secondary after a terrible second half. But those are my two favorite picks of the week there. And then obviously Washington overs. If it's anywhere in the 50s, that's a hit. Washington is averaging 58 points a game themselves this year. So those are my picks for the week.
Joel Klatt came out this week and basically said the AP poll is a joke because Washington's not ranked. If you've been following the bias betters, AG's been making you money on Washington every single week. So I like your picks this week. I like the idea that Ohio State, Washington probably scores a lot, keeps it close, but Ohio State pulls away late, and you're just not trusting the quarterback, it sounds like. All right, moving to bias better HJ. You've got a game tomorrow night in the NFL, and then you've obviously got your lock of the week, which is Indiana to cover against Iowa. What other games you looking at, and what other games do you like this week, HJ?
Yeah, I'll go fast since mine was the game of the week, but I do like Arizona money line this week on tomorrow night, Thursday night. They should have won last week against the 49ers and kind of collapsed towards the end, and Marvin Harrison Jr. just had butter hands the whole game. I don't know what was his deal.
Hold on. Public service announcement. CJ, bias better Hannah is betting on the Buccaneers. Are you shocked by that?
If records went off bets, they would be undefeated this year.
I'm just doing what Evan is doing, what Dudley's doing with K-State. I'm just riding the Bucks.
K-State has killed him 3 times in a row.
Evan would be retired if I wasn't riding K-State.
He's
That's
laying.
out of pure passion.
I'm talking like we're just going with our teams. The bias is in our head right now, and we're just riding it.
He's laying in his coffin. Hannah, go ahead.
I got the stat I want to read, and then I'm done. Is what Jalen Hurts does against the Bucks. He is 1-2 against them. His completions are 53 to 93 with a completion rate of 57%. He's only had
His normal stat
550
line.
passing yards and only averages 5 yards up throw
Well,
against the Bucks.
so just like every other Jalen Hurts game, but
It
they keep
sounds like
winning.
every other game except against the Rams turns into
I
Three
Dan Marino for a
interceptions,
half.
3 touchdowns.
I do recall, was it 2 years in a row, at least one year, him getting throttled by the Buccaneers in the playoffs?
That was Brady's first year, I believe.
That
That,
sounds right.
yeah,
So
that's
That
it
doesn't
Kevin
though,
even
because
Baker.
count. You're
they
pulling out that's supernatural. You can't pull out stats against Tom Brady.
It was also COVID, so
Um,
Yeah, you don't have a bunch of mouth breathing Philly fans there either. That doesn't
And I
help.
know Evan and I are battling a little bit on the TCU
bunch of no-brain losers.
Arizona State spread for Friday night game, but I just haven't been impressed with ASU when I've been watching them.
blackout at Desert Financial Field on Saturday night for the ASU game. ASU's wearing some pretty sick black jerseys. So
You know,
just like the Iowa State game, all I bring to the table is knowing what jerseys we can
I don't
jersey
think
colors.
yeah.
ASU has won by more than a field goal for all their games. I definitely could be wrong, but
Definitely beat Northern Arizona and Texas State by a lot.
those two. Well, the ones that actually matter, the games.
Yeah.
All right, Double G, what are you looking at here, sir?
Yeah, I feel bad. We got a lot better college people on this panel than myself, so I'm just staying away. I did have Notre Dame minus 25 last week, but this week, looking at the NFL slate, I gotta go with CJ's bet, the Madison Beer bet. We got Chargers minus 6.5 against the Giants. Giants starting a new starter, Jackson Dart. Could go great or it could go really bad against a good team. So I'm taking the Chargers. And then my stat for the Chiefs plus 2.5. Mahomes is 4-1 in his career against Lamar, and only one of those games has been outside 3 points. But I like the Chiefs. I mean, can you go into Monday with the Chiefs being 1-3 as opposed to the Ravens 1-3? I'm not sure, but one of those teams is going to be. So just keep that in mind. And then the double G TD parlay, we need to get back on a hot streak. Zay Flowers has not scored at home, but they're at Kansas City this week, so he's going to score. And then Josh Jacobs is the second leg of this parlay, plus
Did
237.
Jacobs, how many weeks in a row is Jacobs at? 12 or 13?
No, he actually has 1 week this year already. He hasn't scored. It was
He didn't
either,
score. Oh.
yeah,
It was this past week
yeah,
because he's on
yeah.
my fantasy
Oh.
team in the
He
streak fight.
scored 2 of 3, but one of them he hasn't. So let's get him back in there, plus 237.
And granted, I don't run into any more Caleb Williams awkward photos. This will be our last piece of content for tonight. Bias Better PGZ coming off an absolute terrible week. I dare you to fade me. I've been every other week either undefeated or basically I can't win. I've got, if you look at my slide for our YouTube followers, I've got 4 NFL games and every single one of them has the home team as a dog. I actually like the Bucks to cover at home against the Eagles, the Falcons to cover at home against the Commanders, the Chiefs to cover at home against the Ravens. But lastly, I do not see the Cowboys covering at home against the Packers. Both teams are coming off abysmal performances. I think the Packers have a little bit more talent. They got a little bit more pride, and as everyone knows, Micah Parsons is going back into Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
But I think they'll play for him. The CeeDee Lamb injury, Tom Brady could not have said it worse on the telecast. He basically said, this Cowboys team last year when they lost CeeDee Lamb, it really hurt them. I don't think it's going to hurt them as much this year because they're pretty good. Why? Because they have George Pickens. It absolutely killed them. They were terrible after they lost CeeDee Lamb. What they're doing, handing the ball off to your best wide receiver out of the backfield makes no sense. But
Is Kirk Cousins starting for the Falcons?
no, they're riding with Penix Jr.
Do you
and
do you do
this
you
may
think
be his last stand. I like the Falcons in that game just because Atlanta's a tough place to play. It's probably going to be Marcus Mariota again. Him going on the road. The role players won't play as well on the road. The Falcons always play well at home, and Penix Jr.'s backs up against the wall. If the Falcons don't perform, they definitely go to Kirk Cousins, right?
I have two questions right off the bat. Number one, why do you like the Falcons after last week? Number two, why do you have to pick my Chiefs after loving the Ravens last week? Come on, just give me a break.
I dare you to fade him, Double G.
I
I always
I
think Jake
wish I would have seen
Right.
this slide. I probably would have.
You know, the slides are public before we start recording the podcast, but what I will say is I'm going to Farley, Iowa for some of my gut on this. I learned from a wise man named Drew Kleesner in Farley, Iowa. If you've got a NFL home dog, you ride that home dog until they prove you wrong. So those three teams right there, the Bucks being a dog at home, the Falcons being a dog at home, and the Chiefs being a dog at home. That is my Kleesner sanitation dump of the week. I am riding with Drew Kleesner on that. I am betting some NFL home dogs. Now, if you ask me which of these games I'm feeling the best about, it's definitely Packers -7. That's probably the one of five that I get to submit for the bias better blazing five. If I'm trying to shove it up Cowherds, you know what, I'm gonna go with the Packers, but I do like those other home dogs. Double G, what do you think?
What did you like from the Packers this week? I would ask.
The Packers, here's the thing. The Browns make any offense look bad. The Browns, it's one of your games, have the Lions this week.
Yeah.
The Lions are coming off two phenomenal offensive performances. I think we see the Lions take a huge step back, and it's because they're going against the Browns. It's something about Myles Garrett. I think it just freaks people out because he's such a game changer. I think that's the Packers. I'm not a true Packers believer. They definitely need to cover 7 against the Cowboys for me to start believing in them. I felt like that Thursday night game when the Packers beat the Commanders, they were by far the superior team and they let the Commanders stick around because Jordan Love is like Brett Favre on CTE. He's just taking deep shots down the field for absolutely no reason. They've got a great O line, they've got a great D line. Lean into that. Become the Iowa Hawkeyes. We all love watching them, Dudley especially. Lean into what you're good at and quit slinging the ball downfield so much. That's my opinion.
I don't know if I agree with you, but you can wrap this up and I'm not saying I don't agree with your pick, but your analysis of the Packers becoming the Cowboys or sorry, the Hawkeyes. I don't
So
see
I
it.
apologize to all of our podcast listeners. We got fireworks here at the end. Keep following us.